It is my privilege to present the following program that was inspired by the way American businesses and organizations have responded to the events of September 11th. It's part of a special series produced by Heartbeat of America. Having served in the United States Navy for many years, I fully appreciate the important role small and middle-sized businesses play in the very fabric of our country, and I salute the professionals who lead these companies and thus keep America strong. They are the very backbone of our free enterprise system, and today on this program, you will meet the individuals behind one such organization. I'll be back later in the program to introduce the Keeping America Strong Award. And now, let's learn more about the organization we are honoring today.
Today, the eyes and ears of the 21st century are focused on new developments, new technologies, new emerging companies. We're on the scene to bring it to you as it happens.
We anchor from our new studios in Los Angeles and then go out all over America to get to the heart of the story.
I'm Bert Tenzer.
I'm Bella Shaw.
I'm Doug Llewellyn.
And I'm William Shatner, and this is Heartbeat of America. Since 2001, our television series has been featuring entrepreneurial companies that move our country and our economy forward. Standing by at our studios in Los Angeles is one such company. Welcome. Good to have you with us. All right, let's begin by telling me what you do and who benefits from it.
Well, we develop maritime dispatch systems for the use in dispatching longshoremen in the ports of LA and Long Beach.
Well, you're obviously successful. So what do you attribute your success to? Any particular philosophies or strategies?
Well, we work really closely with our customers, and we've managed to develop the only working dispatch system on the entire West Coast.
Now, stay with us. There's more to come.
Thank you very much, William. Now, I'm Doug Llewellyn here in our studio in Los Angeles with our guests. Our guests are from a company named Vistem Solutions, Inc. Company is headquartered in Irvine, California, which is just outside the city of Los Angeles. It's a fascinating story you're about to hear. You've already seen one of our first guests. Let me formally introduce him to you now. He is the president of the company. His name is Rodney Shook. Rodney, welcome. Nice to have you here. On his left is Keith Nelson, who is a vice president of technology. He is also a PhD. I'll get you credit in, Keith. Okay?
Thank you.
Welcome. Nice to have you. Let me ask you first off, because it's really pretty interesting. You gave a very interesting answer to Bill Shatner a moment ago. What is the big problem that exists that you set out to try and solve in the industry that you worked in?
Well, several years ago, the shipping industry had an issue. What they did was they had longshoremen getting dispatched to work every day, but due to the number of longshoremen who had to select their jobs every morning to go to work, they couldn't get through the process fast enough to actually get to work on time. So the shipping industry wanted to try and use some type of computer automation system to speed up the dispatch process by which the longshoremen actually choose their jobs in the morning.
What's interesting, let me help you along here, is that longshoremen show up at the office and they get their assignment for the day when they arrive. Is that right?
Actually, that's not quite correct.
In essence?
What the longshoreman actually gets to do is he gets to go to the hall.
He picks his assignment.
And he picks his job on a daily basis. So if he wants to work today, he'll show up at the hall, he'll stand in line based off of low hours.
Right.
He will be eligible for any job he's qualified for, and when it's his turn, he can actually select from any of the jobs that are still available that he's actually qualified to work on.
All right. But that procedure takes time.
Absolutely.
It was taking a long time. And the longshoremen then go out on the docks and they're ready to go to work. But as you pointed out, if let's say 200 guys are assigned to work on one specific job, unloading one ship, for example, and 199 of them are out there ready to go to work, they can't start till the 200th guy gets there. Is that right?
That is correct.
That's really pretty fascinating. And it was costing a lot of time. And the ship owners who, were expecting the work to start, let's say, at 8 a.m., and the last guy wasn't showing up until 8:45 or 10:09, they're losing money.
That's correct.
So they came to you to see what you could do to solve the problem. What did you come up with?
Well, what we try to do is actually automate the process by which the longshoremen got to select their job. And we tried to make sure that longshoremen had shorter times to actually select their jobs, that when they actually knew what job they wanted, they had less time discussing it with what would be a dispatcher then, that could then quickly do the paperwork, hand him some, in this case, a ticket or a piece of paper telling what his job was, and then releasing him to go to work, and try and speed up this process by 20 to 25 minutes per man per day.
In essence, as I understand, it was taking roughly 20 minutes per guy. Is that right?
Not quite, but it was a variable time. It could take some guys 20 seconds to select their jobs. Some people would take 3 or 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Part of the process is looking through a window, trying to read the jobs that are available, discussing with the dispatcher, for instance, before we finally picked one and then got assigned his job so he could leave.
And the jobs range from what? I mean, the crane operators would be one job. What other kinds of jobs?
There are winch drivers, hatch tenders, UTR drivers. There are people that, for instance, shovel scrap metal off the dock, clean up the coal vessels. So there's a wide range of work and with different qualifications for each one of the jobs.
So it was interesting because some guys did different jobs every day.
Absolutely.
You weren't a specialist in one thing.
One of the nice things about being a longshoreman is any particular day you might decide to work a different type of job. So today you could drive a UTR, yesterday you drove a winch, the day before you were working on a crane perhaps.
So the system you came up with was computerized, and in effect, the end result was guys walked in a room and they had big computer screens in front of them, almost looking like a train station when you walked in, where the trains were listed as where they're going. But instead of trains, these are jobs that are available.
Pretty much. We tried to show the longshoremen when they walked in every job that was available. Then they could get in line where they're eligible at, and they could see the jobs themselves so they wouldn't have to discuss the jobs with the dispatchers.
Right.
I think one of the things we should point out is at the time we developed this, big screen technology wasn't what it is today. So one of the things Vistem had to bring to the table was some creativeness. We originally used big screen TVs, the type of TV you would find in your home, a 50-inch TV.
Right.
Now the technology has matured and we can use projectors and bigger screens.
Or the flat screens.
Or the flat screens.
Yeah, that have gotten, very large now for the most part. All right, I have some pictures here. Let's show these pictures and get you to kind of talk me through them. This is pretty interesting. This is, to begin with, this is the way it was in the beginning, right? Tell me what I'm looking at here.
Well, 9 years ago when we started the system, how the longshoremen actually dispatched was they take their orders during the day and they fill out a piece of paper. And they translate these pieces of paper onto another piece of paper, which is what you see in front of you. Now, these are the actual order forms.
All these little pieces of paper down here.
Right, small square ones. Those are little order forms. They tell you what vessel it is, where it's docked at, what time to start, and what type of job.
Right.
And it's those pieces of paper then you actually take to a window and the dispatcher dispatches the crowd.
Interesting. All right. Now, this is what it is like after you installed your system. And the key thing is up here on the top of the screen, over here. These are the big screens you're talking about, right?
Correct. Those are 100-inch projection screens.
And they are listing the jobs that are open and available.
Correct.
All right. And what happens? The guys are in line. They're waiting to go up to the dispatcher's office, which is they're along here, right?
Yes.
Those windows you see.
Those little windows.
And they're the windows, like a paramutual office.
Yeah, pretty much, actually.
Okay, good. All right. So they walk up. They've already seen what job's available, and they can see because they're going down in numbers as they get closer to the window. Hopefully, the job they want is still available by the time they get up there.
Correct.
And if it is, they ask for it, and then they get a ticket for their job.
Yes.
And then they go to the dock and go to work. All right, here's the next picture. Let's see what we're looking at here.
Now, this actually is a dispatcher's on the inside of that window we were just talking about.
Okay.
And the screen that he's looking at up on his right is actually a touch-sensitive computer panel.
Right.
So a dispatcher would walk up to him, talk to the window, saying, my worker number is X, I want job 22. The dispatcher would hit his job number, which is that white panel just to the left of the screen.
If we can see the picture again, okay.
It might be a little small.
Right.
And then he would actually select the job number itself, which is the red buttons on the right half of the screen.
Right.
And that would actually have the computer match that worker to that job, and we would print out a little ticket that actually identified the worker is going to work at a particular place at a particular time.
And here's that picture. Here's the guy.
That's the guy.
That's actually the first ticket that was issued in the Port of LA.
Okay. Then this guy is now holding that ticket. That ticket gives him the information on his job.
Absolutely. He'll take that down to the dock, he'll hand it to a foreman and say, I'm your worker today doing this particular job.
How has this improved the situation?
When we started 9 years ago, their problem was they were running 400 men per shift out of a 2-shift day. And they were behind. We were trying to save 20 to 25 minutes per man per day. The following 5 years, they were increasing with double-digit expansion into the Port of LA. Now we can actually pump through, our record is 1,950 men through a single shift in the same amount of time they used to actually dispatch 400. Or in this case, 20 minutes faster than they used to dispatch 400.
So it's made a huge difference.
Absolutely. I mean, they can push through 4,000 men now in a single day, where before they couldn't be on time with only 800.
You know, there's another picture here. People don't realize it, but and you were describing me. This is the port of Los Angeles, down around San Pedro, right? How big is this port, compared on a national basis?
Well, this is actually the #1 port in the United States, and it handles, I believe, somewhere between 60 and 80% of all container traffic in the United States goes through this particular port.
So it's massive.
Absolutely massive.
And the other point, and to give you an idea of the kind of jobs, we keep cutting away from the pictures. If you come back to the picture here, these are the cranes, right?
Yes.
And the crane job, as you said, they're very difficult because these guys are sitting up here in the top, and the crane, they have to lean over and look down to watch and see what they're lifting. And
Yes, and the biggest crane, I believe, is about 6 stories, and they're looking straight down. What they actually do is they have a device that goes out across that beam and down and picks up one of those containers, brings it back across and puts it down on a type of truck or truck bed on the dock.
So it's a really big job. Obviously, this has made a huge impact. And as you pointed out before to Bill Shatner, this is really the only system of its kind at the moment that's in existence, right?
It is the only system of its kind here on the West Coast.
And when you talk about the West Coast, what about the Gulf Coast or New York? Are there systems in other parts of the country?
As far as I'm aware, there are no systems like this in the Gulf. I believe there is one smaller system that's actually operating in New Jersey.
Yep.
None of them have the breadth and the scope of this particular system.
So the impact, how could you put the impact that this has had on the port here in Los Angeles into words?
It's increased capacity. It's cut down on traffic in the port complex, which is paramount to the area because of the amount of container traffic going through. And it's allowed for advanced record keeping. And also,
that's another big thing here, because you've got a documented record for every worker of what job he had on the day he was there. So the payrolls are really much more accurate now, aren't they?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no argument about whether he showed up that day to go to work, whether he was there, and where he worked, what job he worked.
Yes.
So that's another huge advantage for the port. Who's your customer? This is a very interesting aspect of this story.
It turns out that the shipping industry actually created a association which is populated by all the members of the shipping industry itself. We actually sell our systems to this association that actually represents all the shipping industries, but the operators and users of our system are actually the longshoremen. So in order to build a system, we discuss with the longshoremen to see what goes in the system. However, we also have to make sure the shipping industry's needs are met. One part is because, of course, they pay for it.
Right.
So we always balance off the two, sometimes disparate needs and goals of these two groups between who's actually paying for the system and the groups that operate on a daily basis and who are responsible for getting the longshoremen out.
So it's interesting because your customer is really the Pacific Maritime Association, but the people who are using it are the longshoremen themselves. I guess another thing you have to make sure that it's easy to use. It's not a really complex system, is it?
It's very simple. We have kiosks, we have phone check-in. All the screens were designed with our development crew, one-on-one with the dispatchers to make sure placement was correct, button size was correct, even down to color, so that it was easy for them to use in their current environment.
How long did it take you to develop this? This was a number of years in development. Right?
It did. We started on this around the turn of the century. We were actually installed about 5 years ago now. So our development time was about 5 years. We built it in 4 different pieces. Each piece had to be, of course, checked by the union, checked by the shipping industry, make sure it was installed and tested correctly. But it's a very complex system. It took us about 4.5 years to actually get it to a point where we can install it and have it operate on a daily basis.
And have there been continual updates on it, or has it really kind of worked fairly well from day one, the way you designed it?
Well, it works fairly well, but all business systems change. So the business process by which the longshoremen actually dispatch workers has changed in the last several years. Record keeping actually has changed in the last several years. So the needs of both the longshoremen and the industry have changed, and the system needs to evolve along with the changing environment.
So you've adapted it to that.
Absolutely.
Well, it's an amazing story, and again, the potential for this in the future. What would you say it would be?
Well, I can see it actually being installed at some of the major ports here on the West Coast. Our hopes would be also in some of the major ports in the Gulf. There is no real way that we know of to dispatch men quickly manually, which is what they did before. also with advanced record keeping, issues relating to port security, of being able to track workers in and out of the secure areas, which of course everybody knows is on target now for the port complex.
Right.
That you'll need some type of a data type system actually just to be aware of who's supposed to be in the dock at any one time. So I think that the system or system just like this will need to be in place in basically all the ports on our coastline.
Technically, this could have worldwide impact, couldn't it?
Technically, yes.
Well, it's a fascinating story about the product that this company puts out. The company, again, is called Vistem Solutions. They're headquartered in Irvine, California. And this is just one thing that this company does. There's a whole nother aspect to their business, and we'll look at that in just a moment.
We have been watching the operations of an organization which is doing its part to keep America strong, and we've been learning from its leaders about what they're doing to help move our country forward. This organization represents companies across our great nation that embody the spirit, dedication, know-how, and can-do attitude which has made America the great nation it is today. And now let's present the Keeping America Strong Award.
Now it's my honor to present this prestigious award to Rodney Shook, the president of Vistem Solutions of Irvine, California, for the outstanding work that his company is doing to help keep America strong. Rodney, it's a pleasure to give this to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'd like to set this on behalf of the engineers and other staff members that have made this possible, and also like to thank our customers and the longshoremen who have worked with us for these last 9 years, making a product like this finally come to fruition.
You're very, very welcome indeed.
Congratulations for earning the Keeping America Strong Award, which honors innovators and leaders like you who are the heartbeat of America.
If you'd like more information on this company's product, visit their website. You'll find it at Vistem, VISTEM.com.
I'm William Shatner. Thanks for watching.